In our society, being a woman means having to face the constant judgment of others regarding our appearance. This criticism can be about the way a person is dressed, or about their hairstyle, or if they wear makeup or not. But the comments that women have to face are mostly about the imperfections on their bodies. Body shaming is a real issue, mainly reinforced by the media and by the fashion industry. In movies, in TV shows, magazines, catwalks, etc. And we are now convinced that there's only one definition of beauty, and that appearance is the only valuable part of ourselves. By looking back on a couple of decades ago, we can understand where those standards of beauty are coming from. For a long time, women's purpose was to give a home to their husband, to clean the house, cook, bake, to take care of the children, and to always look presentable in front of their husband. For decades, those standards were a way of oppressing women by invalidating their natural body and look, and they affected their confidence by only focusing on the so-called physical imperfections instead of their intelligence and ideas. Today, since the multiple waves of feminism have helped many women to find their voice and to educate our society, those forms of oppression regarding body shaming have taken a more subtle turn. The objectification of women is a concept coming from a feminist theory and is defined as the treating of a person as an object instead of seeing them as a human being. According to both Martha Nussbaum, a female philosopher from the United States, and Ray Langton, an Australian and British professor of philosophy, there are 10 aspects to the concept of objectification. The first one is pretty much self-explanatory. It's called instrumentality, which is the notion of using someone to achieve a certain goal. The second one is the denial of autonomy, which is about implying the lack of autonomy of someone in order to place them in a position of inferiority. Then we have fungibility, being the fact of comparing someone with an object. Ownership, which is about treating a person as something that can be bought or sold. And inertness, the fact of treating someone as unimportant and powerless. So I won't be describing every other element in detail. I will still put my resources in the description if you want to learn more about the subject. But in brief, this theory explains objectification as a way of reducing someone to their body and their look, and attacking basic human rights, and like forbidding any forms of privacy, as well as limiting their freedom of speech and invalidating a person's feelings. So women's objectification is directly linked to the high rate of sexual violence against women. The beauty standards being constantly reflected in the media. As they grow older, young girls believe what they see on television, and they learn to criticize their looks and to body shame other girls and women. They internalize the concept of objectification and start to only see themselves as a body with the sole purpose of pleasing the male gaze. Therefore, when they are old enough to have a sexual relationship, they have the pressure of putting their pleasure and comfort second. Those images we see in the media influence tremendously men's perception on the female body. In fact, it creates a really harmful environment in which the privacy of women is completely disrespected inside and outside the media. In pornography, for example, there has been some research concerning the female pleasure being completely disregarded and about the female body being disrespected. In 1987, the anti-pornography feminist Catherine McKinnon mentioned, "Pornography defines women by how we look according to how we can be sexually used. Pornography participates in its audience erotism through creating an accessible sexual object. The position and consumption of which is male sexuality is socially constructed. to be consumed and possessed, as which is female sexuality as socially constructed. Body shaming, as well as their objectification, is a way of making women feel inferior by giving the power to the male gaze. Because men are taught by the media that they can use women's bodies to sell a product, for example, or an idea, they learn to repeat this behavior during intercourse or even before that. They learn to see a woman's body as a product that they can buy instead of a corpse of a human being. So in conclusion, sexual harassment and sexual assault are both caused by the way women and girls are perceived in our society, which is less than human. This issue is dangerously affecting their safety and should most definitely be dismantled by our society, starting with our justice system.